Welcome back everybody to Editor J's Editing Hour. Today is another fun Star Wars effect in Adobe After Effects. We're going to create a hologram map. So let's jump into this thing. What's up everybody, and welcome to Editor J's Editing Hour. Today I'm so excited to bring you another Star Wars effect tutorial. We'll be doing this one for the first time, something new to this channel. I'm going to create this HUD with no prior experience, so welcome to the shit show. First things first, start a new composition, import your footage. Here I have a picture of BB-8 and a little video of me standing around. So let's rename these files BB. Let's name this one footage. Create a new comp from selection. Call this one HUD comp. And let's find a good spot to work with. This spot looks good here. Hit B on the keyboard and come to the point that I walk away here and hit N. Right click, hit trim comp to work area. So here's our work area here. Let's scale it up and then hit P on the keyboard to select position and move it into a spot I like. And let's drag BB-8 down into the comp. Come on, BB-8. And here you can see it's just a picture of a BB-8 toy. And what we're going to do is select the pen tool and draw our mask around BB-8. Alright, there we have our mask. Now you can see the background is gone, just BB-8 hanging out over my head. And we're going to come to the mask feather it out a couple of pixels. It's probably too much. We'll say like 5. 2's good, but let's go with 5. And let's go to the mask expansion, -1. And let's crank that up a little bit to -4. -5 looks decent. Hit the anchor tool, pan behind tool, and drag that to the center, and then we're just going to scale BB-8 down to a nice tiny level. Now let's bring him down and position him down here at the bottom for now. Next up, search for blur, as we're going to make BB-8 fit into this scene. Let's blur it up about 45%, 40%, looks pretty good, just as blurry as I am on my 8K camera. Out of curves, and just darken it up. And now select the layers and pre-compose. HUD final, hit OK. For the next step, we're going to start a new solid, call this letterbox. And let's go back. Letterbox, new solid, letterbox, make it black, comp size, make it black, and we're gonna hit OK. take our rectangle tool and just drag it across the top of the scene. And then we're gonna duplicate our letterbox. Hit S on the keyboard and oops, undo. Hit S on the keyboard, hit -100, and it will go to the bottom. Now you can see we've effectively erased BB-8 because he's not an important character anyway. Please, he's only the most important character in the world. Let's reposition these things. And let's bring this one out, and let's bring the scene up and bring this back up, and there we have myself and BB-8 on a small cinematic scene in which we're going to create a HUD. Okay, let's minimize those. Next step, hit Control Spacebar and look for curves. And let's just darken it down some. Alright, so now what we're going to do is add a lens flare. So we can do that by going to Effects and Presets, searching for lens flare. To do that, let's start a new solid, and we're going to type in flare, lens, or flare, and drop that on the lens fill there. Now let's change this to 105mm prime. Select add. Now we're going to position the layer slightly to the right, drag this little guy down, and have it point off in the direction in which we want to show the HUD. Now let's turn that down to 30%. Control Spacebar to bring up our effects console from Video Copilot, link in the description below. Add a curves to the lens flare layer. Go to the blue channel and pump up the blue. I'm going to give it like a blue glow, as if he's projecting it. Bring down the red, just to give it a nice bright blue. Alright, let's get a new adjustment layer. Control space, search for curves. And then we're just going to brighten up this scene a lot. Go to the blue channel, pump that up a lot. And the red channel, and pull that down. Then we're going to go to the pen tool here and just draw some masks that will become like the blue glow. From the HUD. Okay, so let's draw a mask around a little bit me, so that light's going to hit me when it comes up. And what we want to do now is hit M on the keyboard, select all the masks, and feather these out. So we have like a little ambient light going on here. Okay, and then let's turn the opacity down to like 75%. Let's bump up the value a little bit more. Bring up the blues. That's okay for now. Let's change the lens flare down to 0. Bring this adjustment layer down to 0. Set a keyframe. Go to about a couple seconds. And to the point where I'm looking up, jack those up right back to 100. And that looks like they now come on, and I look at what he's about to show. Very cool. It's a free movie. Drag these layers below the letterbox, and let's move on. Alright, our next step, we're going to create another new adjustment layer. So you can just duplicate that one. Call this blue fill. And we're just going to bring the values back down some. And then we're going to delete this orange mask. And we're just going to adjust these a little bit differently. So this one's just going to be a little bit lesser of a blue light, but like the outer rim of the blue light, it's the outer rim. Where's Tatooine? So just gonna adjust these so that they reach a little further, and that is way too bright. Let's feather these up a lot more. Alright, that's good for now. Let's import our elements. Import. Okay, Star Wars hologram, footage, assets. Select all of these and drag them into the project. And now we're going to start a new composition, new folder. Start a new folder. Let's call this HUD assets. Select all your assets and drag those into the folder. Can't stress enough the importance of being organized. And then we will just kind of make another folder here real quick. Footage egg. I don't know. Drop those in there. That's probably good enough. Alright. Let's start a new composition. Call this HUD. Elements. 1920, 24 frames a second. Full resolution. Hit OK. We're going to drag all of our elements into the project. And then shut them all off. Turn on the big planet. And we're going to scale it down. I'm going to move it to a fun spot. Hit F4, make it 3D. And I'm going to push it back into space. Move it up there. Let's turn on the next layer, extra details, scale it down, make it 3D, scale it down. This one, I'm going to kind of tilt it backwards. Put it kind of in a nice spot that makes sense. And then rotate it. And readjust it. That looks pretty good. And let's pull it forward into space and then turn on the inner ring. 3D, scale down. In this process, you can pretty much put these things any way you want. Make them 3D, move them around, make it look good. You know, have fun with it. This ring we're going to put here. Push it back into Z space. line it up with our planet, tilt it back forward a little bit, and let's go through the rest of these. Alright, next you want to duplicate the inner ring, put it above the map, and let's just kind of move it up. Turn it, reverse it. That's pretty good. Alright, so there we have our HUD. Make a couple more little adjustments. And next thing we want to do is search for the control space, search for the fill effect, change the color to blue. I want a nice bright blue. Hit OK, and then copy with Control C and paste it to all the other layers except the big planet. With the big planet, we're going to search for the effect tint. We're going to map the black to this blue. And then we're going to map the white to a darker blue. Oops, select all the layers. Change the transfer mode to add. And there's your HUD. Next step, we want to animate this HUD, kind of give it some life. First things first, let's change the map to red so it stands out a little bit. Alright, next let's get a new camera. And what we're going to do is scroll down here to camera options and turn on depth of field. And then crank up the aperture and then the blur. And you'll be able to see what's going on there. So now just come back down on the blur level until like your focus area is clearer and kind of the outskirts are blurry. Just add a little more realism to this effect. Just tweak it till you like it, basically. Fake it till you make it. That's the secret of success. Alright, now we're going to do a little animation just to give this thing some life. So let's go to the inner ring, either one, and hit R on the keyboard and go to your Y rotation. Let's see what that does. And Alt click and type time times 20. That should be a nice slow rate where it's automatically going to rotate that on the y-axis indefinitely. Okay, let's do our inner ring. Hit R on the keyboard. Well, let's do our big planet first. So I think on the Y rotation, hit Y times 20. Go to the inner ring 1. Hit R on the keyboard. I'm sorry, 2. We did that one. And select the X rotation. Alt click times 30. And let's go to the next one, and I'll click on the X rotation, type time times 50. It's good to use different numbers because it gives it an element of different speeds and makes it just a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more interesting. Add motion blur, and come to the planets layer, and we're gonna alt click on the that's the wrong one. I think it's gonna be a Y. Yeah, that's Y rotation. Z rotation. Alt click Z rotation, type time. Let's keyframe it. Set a keyframe and then just kind of move it like -1. Just so the extra elements kind of slowly move. And let's set the extra detail layer. Hit R on the keyboard. And at the Z rotation, alt click. And type time times 3. I'll show you that piece of a nice little animation. Now you can animate these things any way you want, so have fun with it, play around with it, and just mess around with it. Let's come back to the original comp, drop our HUD elements into the comp under the letterbox, and let's position those here in the glow of BB-8's amazing eye. And let's make a few adjustments here to the blue fill. Let's just bring down the overall brightness of this thing. Let's reset it, start over. Add a little bit of blue. And bring the opacity of the adjustment layer down slightly to say like 50-ish. It's pretty good. Now let's control spacebar glow, and what we want to do here is turn the glow areas to 25. Intensity, crank it up to like 13, and turn the threshold to 75%. There, your HUD is now coming into view. Let's scale it up. It's pretty good. Okay, now let's set an opacity keyframe here at 0. Should be at 100. Set a keyframe, bring it back to the beginning, and bring it down to 0. And so that should come on like that. Let's set hit S on the keyboard for scale. Set a keyframe, bring it all the way back, and then set the scale to, whoopsie, set the scale to 0. So now, when we play that through, it should grow on to the scene, which is how I think BB-8 would do it. I'm telling you now. If that dude just spits out a hologram, kiss my butt, BB-8. Alright, let's add some motion blur there. Okay. This isn't going terribly, is it? You can let me know in the comments below. I will not be mad at you. I might be defeated, but I will still make tutorials anyway. Just to spite you. I kid, I jest. Right. Maybe see me playing around with the values here. Feel free to do the same. I'm not going to explain that. I'm just trying to make it look good. Okay. Now we're going to cut this whole part out, apparently. Alright, the next thing we're going to do here is just to give this some life, we're going to add a noise effect. Maybe turbulent noise. Turbulent. No, that looks pretty cool, but I don't think it's going to work. Dynamic. Go for a normal noise. Let's see what this does. Let's add some percentage of noise. We'll start at 41. Start at 100%. That's probably too high. Let's try it here at around 30%. Alright, let's see what that gets us. Now, let me adjust this mask a little bit here. Skip that part. Skip. Skip. Alright, so our next step is to duplicate this HUD element, and then what we're going to do is change the transfer mode to add, change the glow to 0, radius to 11-ish, duplicate that, change the glow colors, change the glow colors to A and B colors, and change this color to bright blue, change the black color, B color, to a darker blue, hit OK, and let's bring the radius to 60. That now looks pretty terrible, doesn't it? 25 radius. Glow intensity, bring it down to 3. Let's mess around with a blur. Let's add a Gaussian blur. And blur this about 7%. It's extraordinarily bright. Let's change the second glow radius to 50 and the brightness down. Well, we'll crank the brightness up anyway. Alright, let's bring that down to 50, final answer. And bring the glow radius up, down to 0, 13. Glow intensity to 2. Actually, let's do this. Let's draw our mask through the center of the HUD. And then feather it out, hit MM, or just F, and feather it out 180. Just to give that center area more where the glow, where the light is hitting. And let's play with this original glow setting and bring up the threshold to 18. Now let's leave it at 0. Turn the radius to 15. Glow intensity to around 12. That doesn't look half bad. Let's continue to tweak this. On the second glow, bring the threshold up to 12. Maybe 13. Alright. Now let's add a new adjustment layer. We'll leave that right where it is. And we're going to add a curves. And darken down scene, add a contrast curve. We brighten up the brights and darken down the midtones. And let's pull some of the brights down some. It doesn't look half bad, I guess, for my first time. Well, let's see. We're not going to see much, are we? Let's change the resolution down to 1/4 for now. Hit space, and there it's growing on and coming up. It's a little bit slow and janky. Let's select the HUD elements, hit U on the keyboard, select all the keyframes, and let's make that a little quicker by dragging those closer together. That's nice. Let's make it, that's good. Hit F9 on the keyboard or go to Keyframe Assistant by right-clicking, select Easy Ease, hit the graph editor after selecting all the points, and let's pull this in, and that's going to just kind of start coming in slow and then coming very fast at the end. Alright, now let's come to this second HUD element and turn down the noise 10%. Come to the second, and let's take the noise and completely remove it, and then let's again play with this level and turn it down to 10. I can live with this. That's a heck of a lot better, you stupid blue-faced weirdo. And let's just scale this up a bunch more, but not too much, and this is good right about there. We'll scale it down a little bit more and then back up again. I know, it's like a roller coaster I'm sending you guys on, isn't it? It's just, I like it. I like torturing myself. And you should too as an editor. If you want to be an editor, you should want to torture yourself. Okay, let's get serious. Let's reset the blue fill, bring down the light, come to the blue channel, let's bring down some blues, bring up the blues. Let's go to the adjustment layer, reset that, pull out some light, and again add a little blue. Alright, let's reset the glow. Let's reset both the glows. And let's pull the threshold down, radius down, intensity down, and then bring the threshold down, the A and B colors. The radius is at 19, intensity 0. That's better. Now, it's not too bad for a crash course in After Effects, let me tell you that much. I never said I was a professional. I'm definitely an amateur. But at least I'm an amateur teaching other amateurs to be amateurs. So it'll work out. You know what I mean? So let's turn the opacity up on this adjustment layer to add a little more blue back onto my face. Turn up the brightness. There we go. Let's get a little bit of light on me. Just enough. Let's render that out. You know, it's not too bad for my first Star Wars HUD, and they can only go up from here and get better looking from here, right? So I suggest the same for you. It's good practice. This is how we make a Star Wars map HUD with our friend BB-8. Let's check it out on full resolution, and that was 90% of our problem, is we were watching it in crappy resolution. It's going to take a minute to render. That motion blur looks sexy though, doesn't it? And our Han Solo looks up, notices the map, and realizes he made the Kessel Run in 15 parsecs, not 12. Oh snap, BB-8. I've been lying my whole life. Alright, so let's call that a tutorial. This is Editor J's Editing Hour. This is our Star Wars map HUD presented by BB-8 and the PepsiCo Corporation. Not really. This is not a paid advertisement. And, you know, it's not too shabby for the first time through. I'm sure in a couple months we'll make another tutorial of some Star Wars HUD, because I'll forget that I made this one. And it'll look 100 times better. Don't forget to save your changes, even though you just witnessed me select not. Don't save. And thank you for watching. And thanks for watching. I'm glad you're here. If you learned something here today, please subscribe, hit the bell, and come on back next time you see a video come up. And hopefully you learned something here. Right now we are using After Effects by Adobe and Premiere Pro primarily. And I'm having a really good time making these for you. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.